The Philippines tries to maintain a balanced, stable, and friendly relationship with China. We expect that the incidents you mentioned will not affect the normal development of our relations. You rightly observed that the President's first visit to China was in 2011, where very significantly, he and the then President Hu Jintao agreed that the disputes are not the sum total of our relations. In this particular visit, the President will primarily renew the Philippines' commitment in the APEC process and convey the Philippines' utmost support for all the APEC initiatives which benefits the Asia-Pacific region, especially those that benefit the Filipino people. Based on prior pronouncement of our senior official to the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, Undersecretary Laura del Rosario, Department of Foreign Affairs, the President is expected to discuss trade, good governance, and disaster resilience during the APEC leaders meeting. His presence would assure fellow leaders that the Philippines is in solidarity with the other economies in fulfilling the goals of APEC, particularly regional integration and advancing free trade. These goals ultimately lead to better lives for people in the region, which the Philippines, as a responsible member of the international community, would like to contribute to. Aside from meeting with his fellow APEC leaders, the President will also meet with business executives, where he expected to highlight the Philippines' rejuvenated business environment and economic reforms, which is making the Philippines one of the most competitive economies, not only in Asia, but in the world. The President's participation, therefore, is very important, as this would assure other countries, as well as the business community in the Asia-Pacific, that the Philippine government is serious and committed in pursuing reforms which would enable business and investment to thrive in the country. First, let me clarify that there was no joint energy exploration agreement between the Philippines and China. If you are referring to the Joint Marine Seismic Undertaking, or GMSU, which the Philippines, China, and Vietnam undertook from 2005 up to 2008. This is a joint scientific survey and a confidence-building measure initiated by the Philippines among countries in the South China Sea. As for the 5-year development plan, Philippine and Chinese business relations continue to develop in a good manner, with the business sector taking the initiatives for trade and investment. Both sides recognize that there are opportunities in each other's economy, so the business sectors are continuing their contacts and work even as both governments continue to deal with their irritants. 2014 was a very good year for business contacts. The Philippine Embassy and the different Philippine consulates general in China have held series of business roadshows, as well as trade and investment fora and business matching meetings. I would cite, for instance, the very successful visit to Beijing of PESA Director General Lilia de Lima in the third quarter of 2014 to promote investments in the Philippine economic zones. The China Council for the Promotion of International Trade also brought a business delegation to the Philippines to look into opportunities in our country with regard to programs and initiatives that aim to strengthen economic cooperation and how to urge China to invest more in the Philippines. I wish to note that since the signing of the Philippine-China 5-year development program for trade and economic cooperation in 2011, the following activities are being pursued to bolster economic relations with China. At the 27th meeting of the Philippines-China Joint Commission on Economic and Trade Cooperation held in Shanghai in early August 2011, Philippine and Chinese trade officials sought to further bolster the level of trade and investments, invigorate technical cooperation and trade promotion. The Philippines and China also agreed to expedite their work in establishing a China desk manned by a Chinese official board of investments so that inbound and outbound investors in the Philippines can be served more efficiently. The Memorandum of Understanding in this regard was signed during the visit of the President to China in August 2011. Since 2011, 2 Chinese investment advisors have been assigned in the Department of Trade and Industry and the Board of Investments of the Philippines, and that yearly participation of the China-ASEAN Expo. Last year, in the 10th Ka Expo, the Philippines was the country of honor. A memorandum of understanding between investments promotion agencies and China-ASEAN Business Council on industrial cooperation was signed at the sidelines of the 10th Ka Expo. This year, at the 11th Ka Expo, a memorandum of understanding between IPAs and China-ASEAN Investment Fund and Investment Cooperation was signed. Exchange of visits between 2 major business groups, namely the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade and the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Philippines. The China Trade and Investment Council, jointly established by CCPIT and the PCCI on the occasion of the visit of President Aquino to China in 2011. We also conducted programs to promote bilateral economic cooperation. For instance, in 2013, at the second meeting of the PCTIC, a business forum with the theme Deepening China-Philippine Economic and Trade Cooperation for Mutual Development was held at the sidelines of the Ka Expo. The forum was an avenue to highlight the country's improved business culture and ways of doing business. The second part of the forum provided opportunity to Chinese investors to listen to investment promotion agencies in the Philippine Special Economic Zones about business and investment opportunities in the Philippines, particularly in the areas of manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, and infrastructure. Institutional partnership with business associations such as the China-ASEAN Business Council, the East Asia Business Council, China Overseas Investment Federation, to name a few. These are but a few of the activities that we are pursuing with the earnest desire and efforts of our economic agencies, the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Finance, and the Department of Agriculture. I am confident that there will be more in the future, especially now that our government has committed to provide an enabling environment for business to flourish in the country. Foremost of this, of course, is the pursuit of good governance and the improvement of several indicators for competitiveness. These are feathers in the cap of the President and the economic team. With regard to investments, it is common knowledge that China's immediate overseas investment interest, whether globally or in the Philippines, is to secure the resources it requires to sustain its development needs. Historically, China's investments in the Philippines have been in the area of mining. However, there are other areas, together with our Chinese counterparts, where we see mutual interest. Particularly, we seek to encourage Chinese participation and investment in the areas of agriculture, transportation, tourism, and processing and manufacturing. The Philippines is prepared to work with China in nurturing its priority industries, that is, in testing and certification, medical services, innovation and technology, cultural and creative industries, environmental industries, and education services, as stipulated in China's 12th five-year plan. The Philippines will also make full use of the opportunities offered by the tariff-free regime resulting from the ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement. The Free Trade Agreement is a useful instrument to facilitate networking with government agencies, private and state-owned enterprises, and business people of the Philippines and China. We also try to convey to our Chinese friends that the Philippine economy's progress in recent years has paved the way for significant improvements in the country's infrastructure. Our government continues to recognize the critical role of infrastructure development towards attaining inclusive growth and poverty reduction. Hence, among its priority agenda is to develop safe, efficient, reliable, cost-effective, and sustainable infrastructure such as in transportation, water, power, waste management, tollways, railways, and telecommunication facilities. For this, we encourage the private sector participation through the implementation of the Public-Private Partnership Program for financing, construction, operation, and maintaining of priority infrastructure projects. China is and will continue to be a major market and economic partner of the Philippines. Both countries have long-term complementary trade and investment interests to serve. With this, we are very positive about the growth potential of our bilateral economic and trade relations in the years ahead. First, let me make another clarification. China has always been at number 4 in terms of tourist arrivals in the Philippines. It has not yet become the #1 source of our tourist arrivals. Of course, this is something that the embassy aspires for because one of our responsibilities is to promote the Philippines as a preferred destination among our Chinese friends, and we are tirelessly trying our best to realize this aspiration in spite of the difficulties you mentioned. I earnestly believe that the relations between our two countries and governments are still guided by the understanding between President Aquino and the then Chinese President Hu Jintao when they said that the maritime dispute should not affect the broader picture of friendship and cooperation between our two countries and peoples. This understanding arrived at during the visit of President Aquino to China in 2011 inspires and motivates the Philippines and the Filipino people to remain steadfast in our mutual aim to pursue a healthy partnership with China. Thus, I believe that our misunderstanding on certain issues will and should not affect the other facets of our relations, such as our economic, cultural, and people-to-people relations. The Philippines' relations with China is one of our country's most important relationship, given the immutable fact that we are neighbors, and the expanse and depth of the contacts between the Philippines and China over the centuries and across all sectors are the inevitable consequence of this proximity. Currently, the relations are composed of a broad spectrum of cooperation activities: government, business, and industry, people to people. We have built up a shared history of exchange, and we have established a track record of cooperation. The embassy has unfailingly expressed the Philippine government's readiness to pursue our mutual interest, whether we go to China as an investor or they come to us to trade their goods or facilitate travels of our peoples to its others countries for meetings, tourism, or a host of other reasons. We keep all these lines of exchange open to ensure that our partnership and cooperation could thrive and continue to blossom. It would be naive for us to assume that the disputes have had no effect on the territorial disputes. However, as I earlier said, the relations between our two peoples are so much older than our issues. I think that by developing habits of cooperation and exchange, we can inculcate the goodwill and friendly feelings which make up the picture of cooperation in the future. I am a firm believer in the fact that good people-to-people relations are the fundamentals of friendly state-to-state relations. And the travel advisory, and mind you, it's not a travel ban. The Philippines respects every country's measure to protect their citizens against what they perceive as threats to their welfare. However, we maintain that the Philippines is a safe and fun destination, and its people are known to be hospitable and warm hosts, friendly and welcoming to all. The government attaches utmost importance to the safety of its visitors and guests, takes their concerns seriously, and will act to bring perpetrators of crime to justice. The Philippines unequivocally condemns any act of violence against Filipino or any other national where this violence happens. We acknowledge that there are isolated and unfortunate incidents involving foreigners in the Philippines. These incidents also occur in major cities and countries all over the world, and we, like other countries, are constantly addressing this issue as best as we can. We have assured the Chinese government and the Chinese people that we, particularly our law enforcement agencies, are exerting all their efforts to protect Chinese nationals in the Philippines. Here in China, our government, through the Philippine Embassy in Beijing and the 6 consulates general, especially our tourism attaché from the Department of Tourism, is trying to keep the Philippines in the consciousness of the Chinese tourist through familiarization trips, promotion in various media, including social media, and visual reminders through a wide array of advertising. We even advertise on buses, so they go around Beijing and other parts of China. We bring the Chinese people to the embassy. We have a modest social hall, and we show their films from the Philippines, very outstanding, and these are films that have been given awards. We participate also in film festivals. In fact, Mrs. Rodriguez, our cultural officer, and I were recently in Xi'an to participate in the first Silk Road Film Festival, and we were given the award of the most popular film according to the viewers. So we were very proud of this achievement, and we congratulate the producers and the directors and the film actors and actresses in Bamboo Flower. Bamboo Flower is the name of the winning film. Mga kababayan ko sa China, dadating ang ating Pangulong Aquino dito sa China para dumalo sa Leaders Summit ng APEC. Isang malaking karangalan at kagalakan para sa ating lahat na pupunta dito ang ating Pangulo. Sana pakinggan ninyo siya sa print, broadcast, media para malaman ninyo kung ano ang mensahe niya sa atin at ano yung mga initiatives na sasabihin niya sa mga ibang leaders ng APEC. Sa sambayan ng Pilipino, ito po ang aking mensahe. Magtulungan po tayo para lalong mapabuti ang relasyon natin sa China. Kailangan po na lahat ng mga dumadalaw sa atin, mga Chinese man o ibang nationality, ay tanggapin natin ng malugod at sana alalahanin natin na ang kanilang safety ay lalong mapapahibayo ang pagtanggap natin sa kanila. Walang hindi mabuting pangyayari na magkakaroon ng dududa sa ating famed Filipino hospitality. So, ito po ay nag-create ng trabaho para sa atin. Ito po ay isang magandang paraan para lalong mapalapit ang mga iba't ibang mga dayuhan sa bayan natin at sa ating mga kababayan. So, malugod po nilang tinatanggap tayo lahat pag pumupunta tayo sa bayan. So, pag pumunta po sa ating bayan, parang mga nauuhin po natin sila sa ating mga sariling tahanan. Ako po ay nakikiusap sa inyo na ipakita nyo ang famed Filipino hospitality and the warmth of our people. Maraming salamat po.